Hello, hello, and welcome back to Space Engineers on the Xbox, on the Series X, and we are looking at a skybox. This is the Queen of Heaven skybox by Six Dice. I decided to have a bit of a change for once on this particular tutorial map. And talking of tutorials, it's going to be hot today here in the United Kingdom, and we're looking at a tutorial, a nice short look at something, an air vent. Why would we want to do a tutorial on an air vent? Well, air vents have a feature that not many people seem to know about. I've seen people talking about how to turn lights on and off in a pressurized room when you depressurize it, so you have a light come on, and then when you repressurize it, the light goes off. Well, air vents can do this quite simply out of the gate. To give you a demonstration, here is my merge block airtight room. I'll leave the link to the description of that particular video. In the description of this video, I'll leave a link to that video. And yeah. So what will happen here is when I depressurize this room, by simply turning the merge block off, the light in here, rotating light, will come on. Like so. And the air vent will show you one amber light telling you that the room has been depressurized. If I repressurize it by turning our block back on, you'll see that as the 4 green lights show the room is pressurized, the light will eventually turn off. So how's that done? Well, pretty simply. For a start, on your grid, you have a rotating light, and you need to place that light and then turn it off, because we want our light here to basically be off as its initial state inside the room. And once that light's off, and you can change its color as well if you want. Rotating lights can be, you can change the radius, the intensity, the offset, blink, and so you can mess with the RGB sliders. And then once you've got that, you can jump to your air vent. Just going to scroll rather than type. And then on your air vent, you'll see it has depressurize, but also set up actions. And this is where a lot of people don't realize that the air vent can be used. And here you'll see there's 2 actions. The first box is what should happen when the room is pressurized. The second box is what happens when the room is depressurized. So we have the light off when the room has pressure, and the light on when the pressure's no longer there. So when we depressurize, light comes on, we repressurize, light goes off. And that is the basic function of the air vent. And you can use that to make a system for a small airlock where you can trigger an event when the room loses pressure. So you could have it linked to a button, you could have it linked just so that the light comes on and off as you change the state of the airlock. And then if you're doing that, it frees you up to use a timer block to do the rest. So we have the little airlock base. Hold on a moment. There we go. Make sure it's facing the right way. Put one in there that I constructed but didn't quite finish. And we're going to use a closed system for the airlock itself that's separate from the actual base air supply. So we want gas and logistics, and we want to slap an O2 generator, and we're going to pop that underneath here and we change its rotation. And again, if you don't know, the rotation is down on the D-pad, and you'll see green will rotate it along this axis, blue is the one we want, and that will rotate our on this axis, and then rotate it on this axis. So that was the blue. We'll do the same while we've got this block out, because as I said, we'll be using a closed system. And then we want to bring in at least a conveyor, and we can use our brand new conveyors that got added with the community update. On this side, notice now I need to rotate on this axis to get that to work. And we're using a closed system. So now we want an oxygen tank here. We'll want an oxygen tank here as well. So our main base has its own air supply, and our airlock also has its own air supply. And you can see which way to rotate these things quite easily. Lights are green, means we have air. Lights are green. Quick save. Both bumpers and X. And we're good. You see, inside there's pressurized, and inside here, probably just about to see it, should be pressurized as well. Yeah, just that green light. So now, we don't want to open this door yet. So what I want to do is I want a way to depressurize that chamber before I open this door. Let's just modify this a wee bit. Just a little. And let's put a nice button panel on the outside. That one. Sparks of the future. Button panel. So now, how do we control this? depressurize that. Well, we can do it dead simply. To begin with, you can just simply come over here and look at your control panel. And we look at the air vents. And that's what we want to look at first. Now we've got an airlock air vent. And so on. So airlock air vent will be 4 because this is on the same grid as our other air vent. So this one should be the one we want. So if we do depressurize, you'll see look. So air vent 4 is the one we want. So up we go to air vent 4 again. I could type air vent 4 and get there quicker. Depressurize off, and you'll see that we're pressurizing again. So we now know that that air vent 4 is our airlock. So let's name it airlock. And then at air vent 5, we're going to just call main. And there is our air vent main and our air vent airlock. Now we know their air vent airlock. We can go here, go to the button panel, and just simply do this. Depressurize, on off. There you go. Now what we want in here is another button panel, like so. Airlock, pressurize, on off. Pretty cool. And we need a way to know if our airlock is depressurized or not. So what we could do is, we know inside that it should be working, but of course what you've got on creative mode is the air won't be able to move backwards and forwards properly, so you can't really demonstrate it like that on a closed system. You'll see that this room is also, so we need to basically just chuck some air out, but it does work. But on creative it won't work as well as it would do on survival, because your air will be replenished when you open your main base door into the airlock itself while that room is pressurized, and it will shuffle some of the air around when it sucks the air back into itself. What we want is a way of showing that our airlock is depressurized, so we can open that door safely. And best way to do that, go to our rotating lights. See our rotating light 2, so we're just going to call it rotating light airlock. so. And then, without leaving that menu, I'm going to go to airlock. We'll search for the word. See, we can now find it. So now we want our air vent. And to speed things up, if we just type the word air, we'll get our air vent airlock. Remember what I said? We want to change the rotating light airlock, turn it off, then go to our air vent airlock and set up an action so that our rotating light airlock, you'll see it in the list. See a group of lights. Lost it for the moment. Always the way. Can't see the wood for the trees. There it is. So we want the rotating light airlock. And we want that off when the room is pressurized and on when it's depressurized. As I said before, it may not trigger properly. Oh, there's its pressurization status. Because unfortunately we're in creative. If I switched over to survival, it would work much better. What basically has happened is that the tank attached to this is at 100%, so there's no way for the air to move backwards and forwards properly. I could break that tank and rebuild it, but that's the general idea. And you can expand this further by bringing in timer blocks. And in the next part of this tutorial, because I don't want this one to go on for overly too long, I'll be looking at a way to make this more interesting. How you can trigger this using a timer block and do all sorts of things such as opening doors automatically and locking down the main base door. Because when this is depressurized, the last thing you want is someone to come along and open that door. Anyway, that is it. And just before I go, I want to say thank you very much for the likes, for the subscribes, and to make a little announcement. I've teamed up with Paul Thompson, who you might know from the Jaeger project, other absolutely incredible space engineers, videos and content and builds that defy what the Xbox should be capable of. Paul has built a fully walking Star Wars all-terrain armored transport, the AT-AT. And we're going to release the AT-AT publicly when this channel hits 2,000 subscribers. So, if you know anyone that likes Space Engineers content, wants to see more, likes tutorials, likes mod showcases, and so on and so forth, or is just getting into the game, get them to come over, get them to hit that subscribe button. And when I hit 2,000 subscribers, regardless, I will be releasing the AT-AT from its hangar onto the wide, open, snowy plains of Mod.io. So there you go. I'll be putting this information into the description of the video as well, just alongside my tutorial on the merge block door, the airtight merge block door over there. So, as I said, That's all for now. Stay safe, take care, have fun, enjoy the game, and remember, we're ticking down to something on Grid AI. Bye for now.